بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا تجعل الحزن والصعب إذا ما شئت سهلا. Before we explore inshallah Surah Al-Qasass, I just wanted to highlight a beautiful story within the chapter of Al-Naml, the ants, which is when Sulaiman alayhi salam said to his surroundings, قال من يأتيني منكم بعرشها قبل أن يأتوني مسلمين قال عفريت من الجن أنا آتيك به قبل أن تقوم من مقامك هذا وإني عليه لحفيظ قوي أمين. When Sulaiman decided, said to the people around him, who can bring her arsh, her throne, before they come to me surrendering. Now قال عفريت من الجن, a tyrant or a big jinn, he said to him a high rank, Ifrit, like is a very high rank, a colonel maybe, in the army of you, Sulaiman alayhi salam. I can bring it to you قبل أن تقوم من مقامك هذا, before you leave your setting, meaning to say, by noon time, because this is, because he used to say from morning until the afternoon. وإني عليه لقوي أمين, and I am strong, and I am also Amin. I will protect it. I will not, because Arsh, the throne, was full of jewelries and gold, and because this is the sign of sovereignty. So if the enemy at that time, if they lose the throne, this is that they lost the war. So then وقال الذي عنده علم بالكتاب أنا آتيك به قبل أن يرتد إليك طرفك. Then another person from the surroundings of Sulaiman said, who has the knowledge, I can bring it to you, Ya Sulaiman, قبل أن يرتد إليك طرفك, before, in a blink of an eye. فلما رآه مستقرا عنده قال ربي أوزعني أن أشكر نعمتك قال ربي أوزعني قال هذا من فضل ربي ليبلوني أأشكر أم أكفر ومن يشكر فإنما يشكر نفسه ومن كفر فإن ربي غني كريم. Subhanallah. When he saw the throne in front of him, he said, Subhanallah, immediately he said, هذا من فضل ربي, this is from the blessings of Allah Azza wa Jal. ليبلوني, to test me, أأشكر أم أكفر. Is it, yes, Shaykh Ayub?
So he was not a jinn, right?
No, he was a human, and this is why I'm coming to this. He was a human being.
An alim.
Exactly, alim. That's right. There you go. So هذا من فضل ربي أشكر أم أكفر. This is from Allah Azza wa Jal to test me. I will be thankful or rejectful. ومن شكر, and whoever thank, إنما يشكر نفسه, will be doing good for himself or herself. ومن كفر فإن ربي غني كريم. And whoever rejects, that my Lord Allah Azza wa Jal is ghani. He does not need us. Kareem, he's generous. Like, just like what Shaykh Ayub was saying, that the person who was able to bring the throne was not a jinn. He was a human, but he had the knowledge. Now what does this tell us? Because the reason why I did not want to skip this story from Surah Al-Naml, because so many people come to the Imams especially. Oh, I have jinn, I have this, I have ayn, I have this. Okay, that's fine, it's true. Jinn, it does exist. It's a creation from Allah Azza wa Jal. And we know that sihr does exist, and we know that ayn is haqq. قل أعوذ برب الفلق من شر ما خلق ومن شر غاسق إذا وقب ومن شر حاسد إذا حسد. That's a true haqq. But what also we need to know is that Allah Azza wa Jal is haqq. He's the creator, and His knowledge that He gave to us is more powerful than the evil temptations of all other creations that Allah Azza wa Jal created. The three quls that you recite that are more powerful than anything else. The Ayat al-Kursi is more powerful than any ifrit or jinn that can cause any harm to you. So keep that in mind. Allah Azza wa Jal's ability is beyond and above ability of all His creations, and Allah Azza wa Jal have given us some of that knowledge through the ilm we have and through the dhikr we exercise. So let us be protecting ourselves and our families with the ilm, with the dhikr. But at the same time, let also equip our hearts and our minds that Allah Mighty is more powerful than anything else. That yes, I might be going through a difficulty in my life, and it might look impossible for anyone to be able to help me out. It's true, because they're a human being. But when it comes to the Mighty Allah Azza wa Jal, nothing is impossible to Him. Everything is possible and above and beyond. Now here comes Surah Al-Qasass. Surah Al-Qasass, by the way, literally translated, نحن نقص عليك أحسن القصص. What's Qasass? Stories. Or tracing the footsteps. That's what Qasass is. And tracing the footsteps is also telling the stories or following the footsteps of others, or getting to know what others have gone through. So this story of Al-Qasass is nothing primarily is but the story of Musa alayhi salam. And this is what Allah clearly said in the Quran. Tasin, Meen, تلك آيات الكتاب المبين. These are indeed the ayat of the kitab that is clear, مبين. نتلو عليك من نبأ موسى وفرعون. This is it. We're reciting unto you, Ya Muhammad, from the story of Musa and Fir'aun. طيب لمين يا ربي؟ بالحق, by the حق. لقوم يؤمنون, to people who believe. These stories, by the way, are beneficial to the believers. And again, these stories come to endorse one simple fact. Allah the Mighty has the power. Period. Allah the Mighty has no limits to what can be happening to anything that He wants. This is it. You know, I live through this a lot because of the nature of my work. You know, families come and say, oh, you know, doctors are saying, and I said to them, yes, doctors are nothing but a human being. They're like mechanic. They diagnose, they try to replace and repair, and that's it. They cannot create. They cannot give ruh. They cannot take ruh. This is it. This is what they're simply unable to doing. So Allah Azza wa Jalla in this symbol in this chapter is saying to us that be a believer, be strong, believing in Allah Azza wa Jalla, and be 100% that Allah Azza wa Jalla's ability and power is beyond and above any ability and power of any of His creations. Khalas. Don't look at things from the human standard. Look at the things from the standard of the mighty Allah Azza wa Jalla. By the way, this surah, Al-Qasass, is Makkiyah. And if we go to the end of the chapter, we will see Allah Azza wa Jalla saying the following to the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. إن الذي فرض عليك القرآن لرادك إلى معاد قل ربي أعلم بمن جاء بالهدى ومن هو في ضلال مبين. Subhanallah. Look into this. Allah at the end of this story, this chapter, says to the following, the Prophet ﷺ, إن الذي فرض عليك القرآن, the one who have given to you Al-Quran, Ya Muhammad, فرض عليك, obligated unto you the Quran, he gave it to you, he revealed it to you, لرادك إلى معاد, will return you after a certain period of time. What does this mean? Aisha Khayyub, Allah is saying to the Prophet when he was leaving Mecca at the first time, afraid on his own life, and not Mecca and all the forces of Mecca were chasing him, and they had a bond for his head. He said to him while he was leaving in fear in the darkness of the night, إن الذي فرض عليك القرآن لرادك إلى معاد. The one who have given you the Quran, Ya Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, will bring you back again to Mecca, لمعاد, in certain time. And he came back. But he came back not worried and afraid. He came back victorious. He did not came back with his head up and proud in proudness and arrogance. He came back while his beard was touching the back of his camel out of humbleness. Subhanallah. إن الذي فرض عليك القرآن. Ya Allah, لرادك إلى معاد. Ya Allah. Well, I feel like I'm gonna cry. How the Prophet ﷺ, how much the Prophet ﷺ went through in Mecca. What was the details of his trip of migration from Mecca to Medina? He left from Mecca to the mountain of Thawr, spent 3 nights there. And Quraysh were able to trace his footsteps. And then when he was inside, Abu Bakr was saying to him, Ya Rasulullah, if anybody looked at the level of their feet, they would see us inside. And the Prophet will say to him to calm him, Ya Abu Bakr, ما ظنك في اثنين الله ثالثهما. What do you think of 2? Allah is their third. What do you think of you as a person or as a family going through a difficulty? Allah with you. Allah is with you. Keep that in mind. And we are in the most powerful times and nights of dua. Make your dua come from the heart. You know, every day almost a family come to me, say, please make dua for my family, for my child, for this, for that. I say, yes, I will. But you know what? Wallahi, your dua as a muttar is more powerful than my dua because I'm not muttar. In your case, I have my own muttar cases. So Allah Azza wa Jalla is trying to tell us in a nutshell that don't look at things from your own perspective or your own scale. Look into the things from the scale of Allah Azza wa Jalla. And then إن فرعون علا في الأرض وجعل أهلها شيعا يستضعف طائفة منهم يذبح أبناءهم ويستحيي نساءهم وإنه من المفسدين ونريد أن نمن على الذين استضعفوا في الأرض ونجعلهم أئمة ونجعلهم الوارثين. Allah Azza said that Fir'aun la'natullahi alayhi ala fil ard became so big and tyrant, and وجعل أهلها شيعا classified the people of Egypt يستضعف طائفة منهم, يذبح أبناءهم, and he humiliated a group from the his own people, referring to Bani Israel, killed some, the males and let the females stay alive. إنه من المفسدين, he was from the مفسدين, the one who spread the fasad. ونريد أن نمن على الذين استضعفوا في الأرض ونجعلهم الأئمة ونجعلهم الوارثين. ونريد, and Allah Azza is saying, we want and namunna, and to give. Namunna is to give something without any return. Like yamunnu alayhi, I gave you without without any upper hand. Like I gave you because I have the upper hand. I didn't need anything in return from you. Allah is saying, nuridu an namunnu. Namunna, Allah is going to say that to Bani Israel who were humiliated, we will give you without any return the upper hand. ونريد أن نمن على الذين استضعفوا في الأرض ونجعلهم الأئمة, and they will be the leaders, أئمة, ونجعلهم الوارثين, and they will be inheriting the earth. And that's what happened exactly. In a nutshell, without going into the further details, Allah Azza wa Jal drowned Fir'aun, and then He gave the land to Bani Israel. They had the upper hand. Done deal. The details are all familiar with us. Because of the time, I will skip the details. But I want to just highlight something. How Allah Azza wa Jal said to Musa alayhi salam, وَلَمَّا بَلَغَ أَشُدَّهُ وَاسْتَوَى آتَيْنَاهُ حُكْمًا وَعِلْمًا وَكَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي الْمُحْسِنِينَ. When Musa alayhi salam, becomes strong and big, He gave him حُكْمًا وَعِلْمًا. Remember what we said about حِكمة? وَضْعُ الشَّيْءِ فِي نَصَابِهِ. To put things in the right perspective. وَكَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي الْمُحْسِنِينَ. And this is what Allah Azza will do to the muhsin. Be muhsin in your life. By the way, throughout the details of the story, Allah Azza gives explains portrays the fear environment that the mother of Musa lived in, Musa himself lived in as an infant, and then after that as in his childhood, as in his youthhood, and after that when he went to Madian, and all the details to tell you, regardless of how difficult your life is, the mighty Allah Azza will have something for you that will make you happy. And this story, by the way, was concluded with the story of Qarun. And I'll take inshallah half a minute to conclude this. إن قارون قال كان من قوم موسى فبغى عليهم وآتيناه من الكنوز ما إن مفاتيحه لتنوء بالعصبة أولي القوة إذ قال له قوم لا تفرح إن الله لا يحب الفرحين. The story of Musa. Now, Fir'aun represents the authority, the power of authority, ruling. Qarun represents the authority or the power of the money. And Allah Azza wa Jal is saying, giving us the ugly side of misusing the power, the authority, and misusing the money. Now we're seeing this in nowadays. There is one country in the world using both and misusing them and abusing them. The authority of the power and the authority of the money. قال إنما أوتيته على علم مني. This is what we hear them saying. Technology, we have the universities, we have the upper hand, the technology, we have the top gun. We say to them, take an example of what happened to Fir'aun. Allah Azza made the earth swallow him and his own servants. This is it, period. Conclusion. What we need to come up with this from this beautiful chapter in the Quran. Number one is, I'm just giving you snapshots, headlights. And I hope that we will be able to go back and read it with some time and reflection. Number two, we're still living in a few hours before the end of this month. Please, young boys in the back, please let us take the moments in making dua to Allah Azza wa Jal before it's too late. Let's look into the power of the mighty Allah Azza wa Jal and belittle our own abilities and power and our problems compared to the power of Allah Azza wa Jal. What is your need in this dunya and how difficult is your challenge in this dunya compared to the power and ability of Allah Azza wa Jal? Allah Azza wa Jal, the Prophet in Hadith Qudusi, if inna awwalakum wa akhirakum, all the creations of Allah Azza wa Jal, from the time of Adam until the end of life, they all come stand up in line and they ask Allah Azza wa Jal for everything they want. Nothing will decrease from the treasures of Allah Azza wa Jal except what the needle will be taking out when it's dipped in the oceans and taking out. That's it. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى اله وصحبه اجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.